Okay, abusia be ma kwa abasonko so edeba POG Media so. Abusia yembonra eye yensemu. Eye Ablekuma North constituency. Ede ensem ba Dr. Rashid Tanko, eye Deputy Director of Elections for NDC. Oda eye IGP se enimaniya no. Omo a NPP eye agent anase NPP leaders are omolidi ya omoko print illegal pink sheet chese omode be frustrate Ghana for anase omode ma J Mensa anase electoral commission say omofa indeclare abanema NPP na chese omofa nria NDC no ayese tete Yohonu enimani ya or arrest sa NPP mpanyfo ni nyina cause omo NPP NDC for no omo ntena se enhwe se NPP enko print illegal scan sheets na omofambe declare elections no enti J Mensa aso ayeshi ya abusuya Dr. Rashid Tanko a strike hard on NPP minority wasanso order IGP tete Yohonu say onye sa action no sisie ya cause NPP for no omayo madwen say kro no e no pese ombo Ghana for adinti e na elections say utumi ko print illegal scan sheet and as a pink sheet na or the best frustrate Ghana for enti abusuya Dr. Rashid Tanko amount heavy pressure on IGP tete Yohonu asisi ano fear and panic be abera NPP minority enye asam keto akwamo me yanko na yankonko ti ensema oditudwa medamase.
Earlier today, the minority caucus in Parliament, they demanded immediate police protection for the Electoral Commission to complete the long-delayed collation of Ablekuma North parliamentary results. It warned that continued inaction is undermining Ghana's democracy. I'm going to show you how they marched from Parliament to the police headquarters earlier today. Take a look at this.
The Ablekuma North constituency stands out as a shocking exception. Ladies and gentlemen, since December 2024, the parliamentary results have not been declared, thereby denying the people of Ablekuma North their rights to representation under the 1992 Constitution. This is without precedent in the Fourth Republic and constitutes a serious blot on our democratic record. We therefore request that your office takes immediate steps without any more delay. Deploy adequate security personnel to the Electoral Commission at its designated collation center. Ensure an enabling environment for the peaceful and lawful conclusion and collation and declaration process in Ablekuma North.
So that's the Frank Anodompre. He is a minority chief whip speaking and in fact presenting that demand for on behalf of the minority in Parliament. Alexander Fenyomakin was there, and the parliamentary candidate for the MPP in Ablekuma North was also there as well. Well, how about the NDC? What are their demands to get a closure to this Ablekuma North debacle? Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer is the Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC. He is also acting CEO for the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications. Dr. Rashid Tanko, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred. Let me say good evening to you and your cherished viewers across Ghana, especially people from the Miller and Williamson constituencies. Great. I wish them well.
Right. You saw your colleagues on the other side march to the IGP making demands, immediate protection for the Electoral Commission to collate and declare the results in Ablekuma North so that chapter will be closed. They would have representation in Parliament. Is that a demand that you support?
Alfred, they should be dismissed with the contempt they deserve.
Why?
These people, they should be dismissed completely.
Why is that?
Are we in a lawless state? What they are asking for is complete lawlessness.
Why is that?
And that one, we are not going to accede today. Alfred, you don't just go to IGP asking that the IGP should come and provide security for you to perpetuate an illegality on the good people of Ablekuma North. That's what they are trying to do. Alfred, Ablekuma North, we have a standstill. And the standstill is emanated from the 62 polling stations, which the Electoral Commission, which is supposed to have the original pink sheets from these 62 polling stations, indicated to the whole world that they don't have the pink sheets. They lost them. So since they lost them, they were now going to rely on our carbon copies, because they gave us carbon copies at the polling stations. We also indicated we were very truthful. The NDC, we are very, very truthful in this matter. At the IPAC meeting, which I represented a party with my colleague, Mahdi, we all agreed that, look, we don't have it because of the vandalism that occurred during the collation in the night. So we also lost ours. The MPP also indicated to us, they also lost theirs, but they have scanned copies. Where from scanned copies? Where did they get the scanned copies? And Electoral Commission now want to use the scanned copies of MPP to declare the results. Who will accept this? Who will accept this kind of thing? And interestingly enough, Alfred, in fact, I want to use your platform to also call on the IGP. In fact, we met him about 2 weeks ago. We met the IGP and told him our position. Now that these people are coming out, in fact, he must initiate process of arresting them.
You want the IGP to arrest?
Yes, arrest the MPP leadership who came for the collation.
Why? Why is that? What have they done?
Alfred, to go and manufacture your own pink sheet, concoct figures on it, and forcing it on an Electoral Commission to use it to declare you as a winner, it's a criminal act. And that's what they did. Because the presiding officers of Electoral Commission came, looked at them, and said, no, these are not our pink sheets. I didn't sign it. This is not my signature. Some said these figures are not correct because at my polling station, I didn't have rejected ballots. But the pink sheet you are showing to me has a portion of a rejected ballot. That means it's a fake one. And I was expecting the IGP and his group to arrest them. All the MPP guys who came there, their agents and then the leadership there, arrest them for falsifying official document of state. So, and today they have the audacity to go and tell IGP to come and continue agree to this nonsense.
So in the end, the fundamental concern here is that for the people of Ablekuma North who are watching us right now, they don't have representation in this 9th parliament. And I'm sure that for you as a party, you're concerned as well. So what's your proposal to close that chapter and have a candidate declared as a winner for that constituency and eventually represented in parliament?
It's simple and straight. Let us go and do a rerun for the 62 polling stations. So long as we don't have the pink sheets, the original pink sheets, and the data for the 62 polling stations, the best option is to go and do a rerun. Is it the first time we are doing a rerun of polling stations? We did one at Akwatia under Afarjan. We went and did election for just less than 6 polling stations in Akwatia. We did even by-elections. We have been going for by-elections. So what has stopped the Electoral Commission to let us go for the 62 polling stations? Why is the NPP running away from this rerun for the 62 polling stations? Because they know that they had concocted fake pink sheets. And the Electoral Commission, who are collaborating with them, wants to declare them winners using this fake sheets.
So you want the 62 polling stations, we want 62 polling stations rerun?
Yes, that is our position. In fact, we told the IGP, we told the government. In fact, as a political party, we have mentioned it to the government. And we have also mentioned it to the Electoral Commission as well as the Peace Council. That look, this is our position. We are very truthful. We don't want to bring any fake thing, or we don't want to concoct any figures and come and force it on you. The truth of the matter is that the pink sheets we all got missing on the day, which the Electoral Commission also agreed they don't have. Now they want to use MPP scan copies. They are masters of faking a document. And they have done that.
So is there any timeline to this demand that you made of the IGP?
Oh, it's straightforward. I mean, Alfred, the timeline is very straight. We did it several. We even wrote officially to them. We have written to the Electoral Commission officially indicating our position and told them point blank that, look, we are not going to accept any scanned copies from any quarters whatsoever. Because your own presiding officers
has vindicated our position that, look, the NPP are up to something. They went and concocted these things and brought them.
We'll see how the commentators will look like on this. And Dr. Rashid Tanko, Computer, I appreciate your time. The Energy Debt Recovery Levy, Road Fund Levy, Energy Fund Levy, we're paying. All of this, all these levies, taxes, margins are on a liter of petrol that we buy at the pumps. Mostly in pesos. Now we're going to see this cross the pesos line to a city and over. Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy. This Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy was supposed to have been off our books a very long time ago. The sunset clause on this Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy was supposed to have been just 5 years. For the ESLA as well, the energy sector debt, the recovery levy, was supposed to be 5 years. Introduced in 2016, January. All things being equal, by 2021, ESLA was supposed to have been off our books. But ESLA, almost 10 years on, we are still paying ESLA when you go and buy fuel at the pumps. Not just this 6, there are more. There's special petroleum tax. The advocates by CSOs that this SPT should have been off our books a long time ago. We are still paying for the special petroleum tax. The primary distribution margin is there, bust margin as well, fuel market margin, marketers margin, dealers, the retailers and operators, they also have a margin in there. So you're looking at all of these taxes and levies and margins already on the price build-up of how much we are paying when we buy a liter of petrol and diesel, and you're thinking about how this is going to compound the impact of this on the cost of living. If you calculate this 1 cedi on a liter, yes, you know, sometimes it sounds small, but if you escalate and expand the tentacles of this scope, you would see that if you're buying a gallon of petrol, you're going to have to pay 4 cedis on a gallon. Think about that. That's where the concern is as well. So the Minister of Finance, Dr. Kasila Tofosin, says, well, this is a bitter pill, but then again, it is meant to address the growing shortfalls in the energy sector and also reduce the legacy debt owed to independent power producers, state-owned enterprises, and fuel suppliers. So, and also stabilize power supply across the country, and also to support the economic growth and protect households. Yes, very legitimate needs and the reasoning behind this. But then again, we want to understand how much are we owing these IPPs, state-owned enterprises and fuel suppliers. So we went into the 2024 budget, and this is what we found out, how much we've been paying independent power producers. And based on the details of that budget, we're going to put out on the screen right now. The IPPs, at the end of 2024, according to the dictates of the budget, we paid almost $400 million. And this is the breakdown. Amandi Energy paid some almost $73 million. SenPower, you see the amount there, over $140 million. AXA, Senate, Car Power, and we're still owing Car Power. Just so you know, we have just gotten into an agreement with them as to how we're going to clear that debt. And as sudden as ugly, we owe them. So all these IPPs, government owes, and they've had to now engage to, as it were, getting to some payment plan. Over $1.7 billion, we're told that we owe these IPPs. Then you look at the energy sector in terms of specific fuel suppliers. Now we're getting to know as well that this money that we're going to get from this levy that has been imposed will be used to pay or buy fuel and not offset the legacy debt. Fuel cost is a big issue. So you see this, these are the fuel suppliers that we've engaged as a state government to supply fuel, because 70% of our energy mix is thermal. So every time we need fuel to power the thermal plants. And these are Sankofa Gas, West Africa Gas Company, that's WAPCO. You remember, in the early part of the year, WAPCO had to go on some maintenance schedule, and that created issues for us, and they had to postpone that at some point and go into some plan. Stratcon Limited, Tallow Ghana Limited, Chase Petroleum, Special Fuel Account, HFO Stratcon Limited also in there. All of these are suppliers of fuel, and because we rely on thermal, 70% of our energy mix, all thermal, we have to have fuel. And the Energy Commission has already put out the projection that government, if you have to keep the light on, you need about $1.2 billion this year just for fuel, buying fuel, so that you keep the lights on, because you need the thermal plants to be powered. Even beyond that, the minister has indicated that the total sector debt is $3.1 billion, and this is exclusive of the cost of fuel. Now, if you add the fuel cost and everything to it, we need about $3.7 billion to clean up the total sector indebtedness. And think about it. That's a lot that we have to deal with. And already just about that, $1.2 billion is needed for buying fuel, just fuel. So there's a big problem. But then again, what has to be done to address the problem? Should the taxpayer be the one paying for all of this, or there should be another way to deal with this particular problem that we're faced with? That is the picture that I want us to appreciate. And this is why I bring in Richmond Roxon. He speaks for the Energy Ministry, and then also Duncan Amoa, Executive Director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC. Duncan, I appreciate your time here on Ghana Tonight, and I'm going to start off with you. Looking at this picture I've just painted and the concerns that the consumers are raising, especially because of the impact that this is going to have at the pumps. The minister thinks otherwise, but then again, the reality is going to set in at some point. But government says, well, this is a big one. Public come in and burden share so that we can pay for the debt in the energy sector. Is it a good call to make at this point?
Well, Alfred, we don't do, as it were, the money sharing when they are creating the mess, especially in the power sector. They don't share the contracts, the opportunities, the containers that some people will carry and do whatever with it. So sometimes I don't think that I will side with the new slogan of burden sharing. What creates the burden in the first place? I think that that ought to be addressed. 10 years ago, like I always say, we were hit with ESLA, Energy Sector Levies Act, 21st of December 2015. That went to Parliament. By 23rd, it was passed or something thereabout before they rose. By the 2nd or 3rd of January, it impacted on fuel prices heavily. At that time, fuel was impacted about 78%. And so one would expect that the justification so made at the time, which was to the extent that there was some debt that needed to be dealt with or cleared, there also was the need to inject some money to make the energy sector efficient. This, I'm talking of injecting money into the operations of ECG to bring them to some greater efficiency. Alfred, 10 years down the line, the data would show that contribution of 29 billion from Ghanaians within the period. Yet, the debt overhang at the time of 2.2 billion, at the time of an exchange of about 3.8, you would realize that of the 7 billion, 8 billion that the sector owed, for which we were originally told ESLA could take about 5 years to clear that debt.
And the reality, Duncan, is that we still have ESLA on our books and we're paying for it whenever we buy fuel. And that's why I bring in Mr. Roxon. He speaks for the Energy Ministry. Richmond, can you hear me? Good evening. Hello, Richmond, can you hear me?
Hi, good evening.
Great, and thank you
yes, for... Good evening.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us. Now, you're asking that the Ghanaian people should burden share, coming to help government to essentially pay for this debt in the energy sector. And the consumer is also looking at all the corruption, the inefficiency, and everything that's happening in the sector, and then also being asked to burden share and pay for it. How do you intend to convince us that this is a worthy venture to go on?
The first point that must be made is that one of the reasons, or in fact the underlying reason for the introduction of this levy has to do with the acquisition or the purchasing of liquid fuels to power the thermal plant. If you look at our energy mix today, our energy mix currently is largely dominated by thermal, which will be around 70%. And these thermal plants will either run on natural gas or some form of liquid fuels. Either it's running on HFO or it's running on LCO or any other fuel that it will require. And so over the period, what has happened is that the government of Ghana has always had the responsibility of providing fuels for these thermal plants. And if you look at the simulation that has been done, if you are going to now increase or include the cost of these fuels to the electricity price build-up, the tariff build-up, the analysis done by PURC shows that in some cases, if we are not careful, it may go as high as 68%. The finance minister puts it as above 50%. And so that is what the focus is. Because if you even have a very efficient energy sector, for example, if ECG is able to collect all the monies for power sold, the component of fuel, liquid fuels to be precise, is outside the price build-up for the tariffs. And this is a major challenge. Beyond that, we also don't have the reserve margins when it comes to your plans.
Abusuawini and Sama Ekoso, our political highway. So Dr. Rashid Tanku and I think say Odessa in Semino Etudra, a NPP minority, Omo petitioner, Om the Kokoma, a IGP Tete Yohonu say, Omma a J Mensa ni Electoral Commission securities na onfa enko declare results no and I just say NDC phone so I intervene ya omo a counter NPP minority into no NPP phone de omo sunu gujema Tete Yohonu be take quick actions on them. Ya bada mase se mo je penekokoti za audio we edemai aha a POG Media so bada mase.